What's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to Beer City Board Games. Today, we're going to be checking out Victory Garden, a 1 to 5 player roll and write game designed by Adam Natkovich and Ian Mercer, and coming to Kickstarter soon from Tunnel Monster Collective, who provided us with this review copy. During the Second World War, many people took to gardening, growing their own food so that commercial crops could be redirected to the war effort. In Victory Garden, you'll be managing your own rural homestead and gathering crops, eggs, and other rations to complete recipes or to donate to fundraising events, all of which are going to score you points. Let's go down to the table for a quick rules overview, and then we'll come back up for my final thoughts. Victory Garden is played over a varying number of rounds depending on the player count. Each round has 2 phases, a work phase and a market phase. At the beginning of the round, the first player will roll dice, 1 die for each player in the game, and then in turn order, players will take turns drafting a die. Each of the 6 die faces corresponds to one of the 6 work areas on your farm. Once you've selected your die, you have 2 actions to use. Your personal action can be used in any of the 6 farm zones: forest, nursery, fields, pond, yard, or pasture. Then you take 1 neighborly action, and this action must be taken in the zone shown on the die that you drafted. For each action you take, you will fill in one of the little circles along the paths in the chosen zone. You need to start at the beginning of the path and work your way along it, filling in spaces as you go. Some spaces only require 1 action to complete, while some may take 2 or 3 actions. Additionally, if any circles show an icon inside of it, that is a cost that must be played in order to fill in that spot. Once all of the circles on a space are filled in, then you can gain the reward printed next to it. Typically, this will get you one of the 7 types of goods, and you'll represent this by checking the color box at the top of the resource track for that item. These could be grains, eggs, legumes, or fruits. You also might get water or fertilizer, which are often needed to pay the cost of some of the action spaces. And then there's canned goods. They can be collected, and when you have 4 of them, you can spend them to take an additional action anywhere on your farm. Or if you've used 2 of your personal actions and spent a water and a fertilizer, then you can get bonus actions for just 2 canned goods for each action. Whenever you spend a good, whether it's to fulfill a market card or to gain actions, you'll check off the little white box underneath the colored box that already has a check mark in it to show that that good has been spent. If you reach the end of a path, circle the purple ribbon. You'll score these points at the end of the game. Additionally, if on your turn you fill in the last action space in a zone, you can claim the top trophy card for that zone. There's a stack of cards for each of the 6 zones, and the number of cards in each stack depends on player count. Each trophy card will give you a bonus action. Plus, if you are the first one to complete the zone, you'll take the 6-point card. If you're the second person to complete it, you'll take the 3-point card. Anyone else who completes that zone will get these cards with no point values on them, but they do allow you to change the die for that zone into any zone of your choice. The trophy cards with point values on them will allow you to swap faces, but for specific zones only. Once all players have finished taking their work action, then play moves on to the market phase. Again, in turn order, players will be able to do 2 market actions, and there are 3 different types of actions that you can take. First, and the easiest to explain, is the Gain Community Goods action. To take this action, you simply discard one of the cards in that row and gain that type of good on your farm sheet. Another action you can take is to complete a recipe. Choose which recipe card from the row you want to fulfill, then pay the goods shown in the middle of the card. Take that card and place it next to you in your score pile. You'll score these points at the end of the game. You can then take the benefit from the bottom corner of the card as well. Sometimes this will give you a choice of gaining one of two resources, or sometimes it may provide a free action in a specific zone. And finally, the third type of market action is to claim an event card. These are similar to the recipe cards in that you'll simply spend the required resources shown on the card, and then you'll add it to your score pile. Unlike the recipe cards though, there is no additional bonus on the event cards. However, the point values are significantly higher. Once everyone is done taking their market actions, everyone checks off the round box in the bottom left corner of their sheet, and then the first player token and all of the dice are passed to the next player in turn order. Play continues around the table like this until the end of the 10th round in a 2 or 5 player game, or the 12th round in a 3 or 4 player game. When the final round is complete, players will total up all of the points from their recipe and event cards, all points from trophy cards, and any points circled on your farm sheet. And finally, 1 point per leftover good in your pantry. Player with the most points wins. All right, that's a pretty high level overview of the gameplay. Now let's head back up and I'll let you know what I think of Victory Garden. Now, normally I'll start off a review talking about art and components, but I do feel like I should point out that the final product may not be exactly the same as this review copy, although I don't believe it will change much, but I do want to mention it just in case. From what I understand though, the art and graphic design are final, which is a big plus here. The game looks super charming, and the cover art is really what drew me to the game in the first place. The symbols and graphic design are also very well done and very easy to understand. They've included boards with spaces for the event, recipe, goods, and trophy cards, and while I don't really think they're necessary by any means, it's a nice touch. I almost feel like I'm to the point now where if a board is included just for cards, I'd prefer that it be a neoprene mat, just from a practicality standpoint. Neither is necessary, but either is nice. I think my only wish as far as the production goes is that I wish there was a little bit more variety in the event cards. And honestly, this is being a little bit nitpicky because it really doesn't impact the game at all. You're just going to see a lot of event cards with the same title and slight variations on similar combinations of goods to claim it. Again, not a huge deal and didn't impact my enjoyment of the game at all. I guess I just wouldn't mind the illusion of variety. Okay, let's move on to the gameplay itself. Now, I have mentioned several times recently that I've been a little bit burnt out on the whole roll and write genre. So I haven't played some of the bigger, more involved ones like Hadrian's Wall or Twilight Inscription. And typically, if I'm going to play one, it's going to be something that's small and fast. Victory Garden lives somewhere in between those two extremes. It's not a complex roll and write by any means, but there is a fair amount to consider. You're going to have to choose the best die to take each round, but you also get one action that you can take anywhere on your farm, and that decision can have a big impact, especially if you're trying to be as efficient as possible and really combo your actions together. And those combos are a big part of what I like about this game. Normally, you're only taking 2 work actions each round, but if you're able to plan ahead a little bit, you could be taking multiple extra actions, either from spending goods or rations, or by completing recipe cards during the market phase. Getting those combos is super satisfying, and those extra turns are going to go a long way in completing zones and scoring not only those trophies, but also the trophies for reaching the end of each path. And the nice thing with this game is that even in the games that I did poorly, which let's face it, we're quite a few. I gotta quit playing games with smart people. I still felt good while playing. Hitting multiple extra actions in one round feels like you've accomplished something cool, and the winner is going to be the player who can really take advantage of that and play efficiently. I also really like how the trophy cards work. They're always good, especially since they give you a free action, but I also like how they give you an ability to switch the die face for that zone. That way, even if you're the last to choose, but you've already completed the zone for the die that's left, you're not stuck with just that one action for the round. I also like that the earlier you claim a trophy, the more points it's worth, but the less options you have for changing that die face. I will say that we played the game a couple of times at 2-player with the rules as written in the rulebook, and while it was okay, I definitely think this game needs a higher player count to add a bit of tension. At 2, we were still playing with 3 dice, which meant that the second player to choose still had a choice between 2 dice. Plus, there was much less movement in the event market row, and without the cards getting snapped up by other players, it was easier to get your hands on some of the high point value cards. Now, in conversations with the game's creators, it sounds like they have developed a 2-player variant, which is going to address some of those concerns. And I assume that variant is going to be included in the game at release. We just played based on the rules as written for the purposes of this review, but it does sound like they've already worked on improving that part of the game. Overall, I think Victory Garden is a solid, satisfying roll and write with some really fun combos. Its rewarding gameplay and cozy aesthetic make it a game that we'd be happy to keep on our shelf. I know that Jen in particular was a real fan of this one. This game will be coming to Kickstarter near the beginning of March, and I'll go ahead and put a link to the landing page in the description, so go ahead and check that out if it seems like a game that you'd be interested in. But before you leave, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And until next time, let's get another round for the table.